Hi.
Hello, hello.
Welcome back to Dating Differently with Demi and Dr. Conti. Today we're talking about the language of dating because somewhere between we're just talking, we're dating, and we're exclusive, things get very unclear. So, we've combined our expertise to create a strategic roadmap that helps you first prepare for healthy love so that when you do find love, you can feel confident when you're choosing with clarity and sustain the right relationship. So, last week we talked about 50 shades of dating and exploring different dating terms. And tonight we're going to talk about an extension of that. Are you dating who they are or who you want them to be? This is going to be a good one. So, Dr. Conti, how are you tonight?
I'm doing well. I am doing well. I am in Jamaica. So I'm doing well. I'm trying to get a little relaxation. There's a whole lot going on at home right now. God knew when I planned this trip a year ago that I was going to need this vacation right now. I am amazing. And so, also, because I'm out of the country, the internet may be a little sketchy. If it does, y'all just go right on without me, and I'll tune in and watch and see what y'all talking about. And I am also super happy because my old partner, Danica Carruthers, is in the house, y'all. Let me tell you, this woman is a powerhouse. If you do not know who she is, you need to look her up. Coach Danica Carruthers, she's an empowerment coach. She helps couples, singles, individuals with all of the different things moving from trauma, hurt, insecurities to living a life of wholeness. And so she's right in line with all the things that we do and we talk about. So I was absolutely ecstatic that she was available to join us tonight. Welcome, Danica.
Thank you, DC. Thank you, Demi. It's so great to be here.
Yes. So I am excited. So let me tell you this. I have a question for you, Demi. We're going to get started. Let's get started right away. This is absolutely
Okay.
awesome. So listen, people often want something so badly to work that they overlook the obvious. They overlook the things that we know, like the red flags, the marching band coming down the street. I asked a client one time, um, did you not see the red flags? And she says, Dr. Conte, I not only saw the red flags, I saw a whole marching band, drill team, flag corps coming down the street, and I still did that. So why do you think that is, Demi?
Let's just be real. Sometimes we just want a win. We just want a win. There are oftentimes we are in situations where it's been months, weeks, years before someone showed us just some attention that they just might be interested. And we see this every day. So, in situations where you have a guy, you have a girl, they barely respond to your calls, they're not really clear, or not really showing up when you need them. You're confused half the time, but somehow you stay consistent with them and you're dreaming about them. You're talking about them with your friends, your family. You keep showing up emotionally for someone who barely shows up for you at all. And you just have to ask, why are you consistent about this person who's not consistent about you?
Mm-hmm.
And really, it's happening because you're not dating the real person. You're not dating who they are. You're dating the ideal of who they are. Like you said, the potential of who they are. You're dating the moments, not the pattern. And we really have to stop giving our time and our energy and our attention to those people who aren't choosing us. But the real reason is because we just want a win. We just want to win. Yeah. So I would say, Danica, have you ever seen people really compromise their values because they're attracted to someone or someone is just attracted to them?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Stems from, if you don't have a healthy love with yourself, you're not going to have a healthy love with anybody else. And we've been so conditioned to believe that, we have not arrived until we're in a relationship with someone else. We've been conditioned by culture, by society, a lot of cases by religion, that we need to get married and we need to be in a relationship. But if you don't know what self-love looks like, then you, first of all, you don't know what you require for yourself, because a lot of people, they don't tap into themselves. They're looking for this void to be filled by something external, but people can't make you happy. People can't make you feel fulfilled. That's an inner thing. And until we learn to connect with ourselves, first of all, decide what you want. Second of all, decide what you deserve. Because if you don't know what you deserve, you will accept anything. And I'm from the Bahamas, y'all, so we have some sayings. I don't know if y'all say this over here, but we say one thing I know for sure and two things I know.
I know.
Desperation will always lead to disappointment.
Mm-hmm.
What say you, Dr. Conti?
I agree. I totally agree with that. And so a lot of times, with what both of you all said, people are not dating from clarity. They're not taking the time and deciding what it is that they actually want. They're not dating from clarity, and they're dating from projection, what they projected they want, what they projected they should have. Like you said, what society projects, you should have the white picket fence and big house and 2 kids, 2.5 kids, and the doggy running around. And so they're meeting people, and because they have this projection in their mind, but they're not actually, they may not have that. They're wanting it, like Demi said as well. They're wanting that win. They want someone so bad. So they're expecting people to think the way they think and move like they move, but they
Uh-oh.
haven't. They haven't done their desires. They haven't done their boundaries. They haven't done their standards, but they're really just expecting. So I want you to put expecting in the chat. If you're watching, put expecting in the chat. Also, they are just assuming your timeline is their timeline, or your desire, what it is that you want to have, when you want to be married. I'm going to meet him. We're going to date 6 months. We're going to get engaged 8 months. We're going to be planning a wedding. We're going to be married in 12 months. That's not always somebody else's plan. That's your plan. That's your projection. It could even be feeling, like believing that we haven't had a conversation at all. We talked about this a little bit last week, that you haven't had any kind of clarification as to what the relationship is at all. And sometimes we think in relationships that if we haven't talked about it, and we think it's a relationship and we're headed towards engagement and marriage, they're thinking the same thing. So that's assuming. Also, put assuming in the chat if you're watching. Put assuming in the chat. And so all of that is what happens. And we just mistake chemistry for compatibility. And we really just want to have, like you said, that win. And like you said, Danica, you haven't evaluated what you really want. You're not being true to yourself. And it causes a lot of problems. It causes you to project. And, when you project something and you attach a story to something that is not confirmed, you get in a lot of trouble. Demi, sometimes we just haven't accepted the truth. Dating differently, as we talk about all the time, means I do not force my values onto you. And if you pay attention to whether their values are actually aligned and fit with your values.
Absolutely, because that's just maturity. Because sometimes the answer is not the person is wrong. It's not that the person is wrong. The answer is just that they are not right for you. And that's pretty deep for everybody to think about that, and I'm going to say it again. It really isn't about that. It's not that the person is wrong, because it doesn't have to be a situation where something's wrong with that person. The answer is they're just not for you. Everyone has heard of a term, and I know most of you have. What's the term? You can't help who you love. Have you all ever heard of that?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so, you know, someone asked me, so how do you stop yourself from falling in love when they don't even like you, right?
Mhm.
And I answered, and I told them that you can't stop, but you can protect your heart, because the heart sometimes just wants what it wants. But when you know it's not reciprocated, one of the things you can do is you can take a step back. We talk about this all the time about moving slowly through
Mm-hmm.
the process of getting to know people. So if you
Mm-hmm.
take yourself and distance yourself some physically, slow down the text, slow down the calls, sometimes what that will help with is with some of those emotions, because a lot of us may not know what our attachment style is, and you really should, but
Mm-hmm.
we want to be at the goal of um, a secure attachment. So that's everyone's goal, right? That if you're not showing up for me, I'm not confused, I'm moving on. And so
Mm-hmm.
knowing that attachment style, and then being able to regulate that in your emotions. And if
Mm-hmm.
you're not able to, just take a step back, just go really slow. I know I've said before in relationships, or I wouldn't say relationships, in my dating stage that I was in, I would tell people I'm really, really slow. And that turned a lot of people off because they expected a lot up front. But I'm slow, and I do that for me and for them because it's only fair. It's only fair. Yeah.
I think, you said moving slow. Like for me, it's moving intentionally,
Yeah.
right? And you have to know what you require and you have to know what you need from a relationship. Everything that matters, everything that's important in the world has requirements. You have requirements to get
Mm.
a job, you have requirements to get a loan, you have requirements to get a job. But we're not taught how to have requirements in our relationship. So think of it as a job. If you just hire somebody and you don't know what the job requirements are, you don't give them the job requirements. They come and they show up as they want to, show up how if they want to. And in relationships, we have to understand, people can only treat you the way that you allow yourself to be treated. But Maya Angelou says, when people show you who they are, believe them. And Danica Carruthers says, when
Mm-hmm.
people show you who they are, stop hoping that they were something different.
Mm.
Because people will always show us
Like that.
if we pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, again, a lot of people,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, Dr. Demi, you said, people just want to win, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you can't win when it's a lost cause. If the cause is
Right.
lost, you cannot
Right.
win. And we have to be intentional in order to be able to assess.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love
Right. I have.
I love
Go ahead, Demi. Mm-hmm.
I love what she said. I love what you just said about, I understand the intentionality. We talk about that all the time, and slowing down, thinking about it. And I love what you said about, it's interesting. You said, I was talking earlier to a friend about, people only treat you the way you allow them. I stopped, and I had a moment, and that's why I want to jump in because I remember, because no judgment, we've all been in those situations or relationships, right, where we let them go way over the boundaries with us or went over the limits. But I had to pause and say, yes, people will treat you only the way you allow them to. But I paused because I didn't want to take that whole guilt on myself. I didn't want to feel that I was responsible for how they treated me, because sometimes people take advantage of someone who, we're talking to um, people that were married. Like I was married for over 20 years. And then the first relationship I got into, I was green. I was ignorant. I didn't know how it worked. I didn't know about dating differently. And so, yes, the person took advantage of it, but is that always all my fault because someone took advantage of a situation because I didn't know any better? And that's a lot of guilt and shame to hold on to if you say, well, I stayed in, but it was my fault because they treated me that way because I allowed them.
Well, I don't think it's your fault. And I think, I believe that we can learn in every situation, and don't take it on as fault. But one of the things that I
Right.
believe is powerful about taking responsibility is if I take the responsibility that I created it, then I can walk in the power to recreate it. And that's what I love about taking responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
appreciate that. And thank you for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. And one of the things I always say, that the Bible says where much is required, much is given. And I have those statements too. Kantiology statement says the Bible said where much is given, much is required. And I changed that around to a Kantiology statement and say where much is required, much is given. And so what happens is, to your point, Demi, when we train people how to treat us, a lot of times if you're not requiring it, they're not going to do it. They're not going to do it. And then if you're accepting it, they're going to do it. So that's just human nature. And it's not a fault of the person, because y'all know, with Fresh Spirit, many have, and that's one of the things that happen when you leave a toxic person, because they make you feel like it was your fault. But you're a victim of somebody, but they continue to victimize until all of us at some point, hopefully, get to the point. And of course, we do know there's killings, so everybody maybe don't get there quick enough, but we typically get to the point where we like, wait a minute, this is not good, this is not cool. And that's how we learn, and that's how we grow, and that's how we become better. That's what dating differently is all about.
And
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad we talked about it. It was nice that you brought it up, because that was a conversation with someone. And knowing that we've grown through it and learned from it, and now talking about it to help those that have been married for a long time, to help those that are empty nesters and maybe hadn't dated in some time, or career women that are just deciding to get out, because it's very, very different now. So
Yes.
really appreciate that.
And I think it's really important to talk about it. I come from a culture where, they would hide a lot of things. And I never was a hider. I'm an Aries, and I'm very real and to the point. My family never understood me, but they would cover up a lot of stuff. But like you said, Demi, as women, we go through things. And my brand is and I don't know how y'all do language on here. So I'm gonna be respectful. Let the SHIT go. Y'all know what that spells. And the S, it's an acronym, and the S stands for shame, right? And we cover up. When we feel ashamed, we cover up. And so we cover up a lot of the hurt and the experiences that we've had in relationships, and we don't share it with other women. So when you've been married for 20 years and you come on the other side of that marriage, like you said, I'm green. Like, I haven't dated for a long time. And I love that you're teaching people how to date differently. And I think a big part of the doing it different is being open to talking about it rather than keeping it to ourselves, right? Because we learn something, and as you learn, you teach.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's right.
Absolutely.
And shame always will make you hold it in, or stop talking, or stop sharing. Uh, we love acronym shame. Stop. I use it as stop the humiliation against me. And what we're doing is we're putting that humiliation on ourselves when we have that shame. So I just love this. I love all this conversation. This is amazing. So many people just really uh, don't have this, because sometimes we grew up and we didn't get all of this, and so we have to learn as we grow, and learn as we go, and grow as we learn. And so I just so appreciate all of this, coming together and us sharing this information. Demi, I
Learn
mean,
as we
so
grow and teach as we go.
yes, learn as we grow and teach as we go. So you have any more insights you want to share, Danica?
Well, yeah. So, and I understand the shame thing, and I understand the covering up, and a lot of times we're ashamed of SHIT, like even going in the bathroom, if you really need to go and someone's in there, we're ashamed, right? And like Demi coming on the other side of a relationship, and it's 2:15 in the morning, and I'm sitting on the stairs of my home in Sugar Land, Texas, with 3 police cars with lights flashing outside of my home, because I had to call 911 because my now ex-husband put his hand on me. And I remember sitting there in this little negligee, and I'm like, how the did I get here? And I had to come face to face with myself and recognize, you got here, baby, because you ignored all those red flags that you saw over the course of 10 years. And it took me quite a while to tell that story. But once I told that story, not only did it help so many people, but it helped me to understand we don't have stories on our own. And the reason why we go through things is to share them with people. So I love this platform that you ladies are doing, teaching. I'm sure you teach women and men. I know Conti works with women. I'm just meeting Demi tonight. But yes, we have to do things different, because, doing things the same way, you get the same result. And they say that's the definition of insanity. So we have to be okay with different.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you're right. It is a sharing platform. And as we coach and as we teach, we are really giving examples of things that we've gone through, we've talked through with, other sources, other clients. And so we're just so happy to be able to share it on the platform. If we can, for me, I always think about if I can just help that one person, if I can just help that one person. So I really appreciate you joining us tonight. I know usually we have questions that come in. I know you're there, Conti. Did we have any questions that came in?
Well, let me look at what we had on the website. On our page. Um, all right, and I don't know who this is. Who either one of you all can jump in on this. I think I'm froze. Did you all freeze? Can you still hear me?
We can hear you.
Yeah, but you are frozen.
Can you still hear me?
Yes, we can hear you just fine.
Okay. All right. All right. So, how do you know when the person is not a fit? When is it? When do you know? I'm sorry. Let me start it back over. When you know that the person is not a fit, how do you move forward? Either one of you want to take that?
When do you know the person isn't a fit, and how do you
when you know the person isn't a fit? It's kind of like, how do you move forward? Because we kind of talked about this too. You know how you staying in stuff, you keep staying in it because you want it to work. So how do you move forward?
Well, I'll take that one because I had 21 of them that weren't a fit when I started dating intentionally. And I'm just real quick to move. This doesn't, in most cases, I'm happy to say or to text, this doesn't look like this isn't, a connection. It was nice meeting you, but good luck in finding your search. Sometimes I don't say anything. I just don't ever call or return a call or answer. I mean, they're strangers. It doesn't matter.
Right.
Like that question when it doesn't fit. Before we got on, I was teaching Demi this song. She never heard this song before. And the song says, if it don't fit, don't force it. Just relax and let it go. Just because how you want it doesn't mean it will be so. And when you recognize it doesn't fit, it's no different than if you go into a store and you put on a dress and it doesn't fit. Why are you carrying it behind you? It is of no use to you. And if you carry it behind you, then you're going to get mad at some point that you spent the money for something that you cannot wear. If it doesn't fit, let it lay where it lies.
That's right.
There's no perfect. There's nothing perfect about it. You don't have to send a text. You don't have to have a long conversation. You don't have to answer. It's whatever's comfortable with you. I mean, there's no closure to me with someone that you just don't know. I always say all the time, they're strangers. We do have a question in the chat, which is, how do you know it's something that you should change or sign to leave?
I feel like your body always tells you. I feel like women need to pay closer attention to their to their intuition. Your body will always tell you. You will get
Yes.
tightness in your chest, you will get a tightness in your throat, or you will get this sinking feeling in your stomach. And
Mm-hmm.
we need to learn how to pay attention to the emotional regulation that our body is trying to regulate us to.
Yep. I always say the same thing. That's our internal navigation system. I call it your nervous system is on alarm. When that happens, go with it, because so many times we ignore that because we again wanted to work and was like, well, maybe that's not so bad, but your nervous system gets on alarm and it is telling you, run, no, this is not good. Remember I said the client that said she felt it, she knew it, she saw a whole marching band and she was still walking down that aisle knowing. So that's what we have to do. I promise you, if you get nothing from tonight, when you realize, when you feel it, don't question it. I always talk, Danica, Demi, you and I know my scenario about that worm in the soup. So many times we want to, well, let's stick around and see if it's going to be something else. Or let's stick around and see if this was going to get better. I always say, what if you went to a restaurant and you ordered your favorite soup, whether it's chili, whether it's gumbo, and they brought it, it smells good. You see the smoke coming up and you get ready to put that spoon in there and you see one little tiny worm over to the left side. Do you like push that side over and say, okay, well, I'm just going to eat on this side? Maybe that one, that's the only one, or maybe there's no more over here. No, you're done. It's over. And that is how we have to look at situations in our lives. When it's done, it's done. When you see that one thing, there's more. There are going to be more worms in the soup. If there's one, even if it's no more, guess what? That's enough. When you see that one, that's enough. You wouldn't eat no more. You get up from the restaurant and probably never come back and tell everybody else, don't go there. So that's how you have to do it. You have to realize, look, when it's time, it's time.
That is such a great example. Ladies, I want to ask y'all something. Being fair to the younger, right? Do you feel like it's easier the more seasoned that you are to honor yourself and walk away? Do you think this is something that comes with time and experience and wisdom?
Actually, I don't.
But country, I love that analogy. But that example about the worm in the soup, that is perfect. That is so perfect. But I mean, I know when I was in my 30s, there was a lot. And then we do it for different reasons too. Women who have children, a lot of times they stay in situations for the children. We have all of these excuses. And I don't know, I'm going to be 58 on Friday, honey. And I'm going to tell you right now, if it don't fit, I don't force it. I like to be comfortable in this season of my life.
But Conti, you were going to answer, and then I'm going to jump in.
I think not, because the reason I say that, because and again, no judgment on anybody, because we've all been there, and that's why we do this. We're talking to divorcees, second time around, widowers, and we're talking to mostly the older crowd. So the younger people are really getting blessed from this, so they don't go this route. But as a counselor and a healthy relationship coach, and have been in this field for over 30 years, there are women 40, 50, and 60 years old that have not gotten this information and did not learn. And some of the patterns are still the same. And so I don't care how old you are, if you don't change your pattern, the old saying, if you don't do something different, you're going to get the same. So in order to get something different, you got to do something different. And so many times people don't know what to do different. And so that's why we have all these worksheets and all these coaching. All of us are coaches so that we can help people figure out what to do different. Because my 5 stages of vetting, most people say, why didn't I have this when I was younger? And as you get older, sometimes you learn, but sometimes if you haven't gotten the help or heard podcasts like this or gone and got some coaching and counseling, you're repeating the same pattern and you're receiving the same result. I don't care if you're 40, 50, or 60.
Yeah. And so what I would say is, and we've, talked about this or hinted on this on other episodes, the dating pool is very different for the younger age group. And so I think it may be yes to what you said, but to add on, it's a lot easier to step away knowing I got 10 other people over here that I see, When we get to our age, that pool is much, much smaller. It's much smaller. If I was 20 or 30, you can date somebody in the same age range as us. You can date people in their 50s or in their 60s. Shucks, I had a 70-year-old that said he was 50s ish. And then when I FaceTimed him, he was 2 or 3 years younger than my dad. And I was like, you're not the same. You don't even look the same, right? Point being why you FaceTime people pretty quickly. But he said, I don't want a 60-year-old woman. I want someone younger. And so I think it's a lot harder for us because we think we're older, we're more seasoned. There are less people that we're going to meet. There are more people that are in our age group that are probably married still. And so you just don't always meet everyone as quickly or as many people, or you don't have as much access to them. So I think that's some of the pressure that's on us too.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, this has been awesome. Again, thank you all. Are we wrapping it up, or do we have a couple? I got some other questions. We can always answer them later for you all. I will respond back to you all. I am just.
Can I say?
I'm sorry.
I just want to encourage the listeners to be true to yourself. I'm being reminded. I had a client about 5 years ago, and in one of our sessions, she had an aha moment. And she said, I'm just realizing that the real me was never in any relationship that I was in. She said, I was never authentic to who I was. I was just trying to fit in to these relationships. And again, trying to fit what don't force, trying to force what doesn't fit. And it didn't work out for her, and I feel like, in dating, when you know what you want, be honest about it. Don't shuck and jive. Don't suppress your desires to try to impress somebody else. The truth of who you are is always going to come out. And like you said, Demi, I tell clients all the time, child, don't make no decisions or commitments before 6 months. Because someone can effectively hide who they are for 6 months, especially if you're not in one another's presence for a long time. But we don't have any control over what other people do. We always have absolute control over what we do. And I just want to encourage the listeners, be authentic and be true and be honest and be real. First of all, with yourself, so that you can be that with everybody else. Because if you're real, you're going to attract what is good for you. But if you're not, you're always going to attract what misaligns because you are out of alignment with yourself.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. And we want you all to stop assuming and start asking questions, start opening up, ask the right questions. Like, what do you really want? What are you looking for? And like Danica say, and share what it is that you really want. And if they're not down with it, if they're not what you want, then that's all right. Keep it moving. It saves you a lot of heartache and a lot of, trauma and pain later. And we want you to stop trying to make people fit your picture when they may not share your path. And that is okay. Dating differently is about clarity. It's about wisdom, and it's about intentional love. It's about intentional love. So if this conversation has spoke to you, we really want you to be sure that you follow up, continue joining us on Dating Differently. Join all of me and Demi's Facebook pages, subscribe to our YouTube pages, follow us both on all of our social media platforms. Come back here every Wednesday night. I know this was some good tea. This was good. So come back here every Wednesday night at 7:30. We would love to have you back another time, Danica. This was absolutely great. We weren't sure if I was going to be able to make it since I'm out of the country. I'm glad I was able to join you all. All of that. Good stuff.
It was, and you got a triple D.
Yeah, right.
Well, I know you a C, but we call you the D because you DC. We got DCD. DCD.
Be sure to join us next week as we continue giving you strategies to date with clarity, move with intention, choose with confidence, And we look forward to continuing to help you love intentionally
Yes, heal completely and
and date
date
differently.
differently. Bye bye, y'all. Be blessed.